I want to address a very, very important principle when it comes to mental, emotional, and relationship health, and it especially goes into the context of healing through trauma. And it has to do with something I call Tula, T-U-L-A, and it stands for Total Unconditional Loving Acceptance. I want to bring this about and let it be an encouragement to your journey. So welcome to the Healing and Freedom Journey. Mark DeJesus here. I'm your brother from another mother, bringing you insights along the way. I'm all about mental, emotional, and relationship health. And if you are too, you have arrived at a great place. As I mentioned, I want to get into this important precept, this important principle. I'm going to be moving into a second part of my trauma healing journey teachings and move into some trauma healing tips and give some practical insights. But many times we jump to these things. We want to get fixed. Hurry up and fix this. I want to get over it. Meanwhile, we are moving past something that is incredibly important that I want us to be aware of, and that is the trauma healing power of total unconditional loving acceptance. I've watched this over and over again at how we need love in our hearts, but yet we're uncomfortable with it. It's awkward. We get goofy when it comes to love, don't we? And we get confused along the way. And trauma does something to really rupture our connection further from the beauty of what it means to rest and live in the beauty of God's love towards us and relate to ourselves in that love. So when it comes to this subject, even though it is incredibly important, many times as believers, we can push back a little bit on this. There's something awkward about the word acceptance. There's something awkward about the word unconditional. And so there's two things I want to bring up. One is we can be afraid we're going to get into unbiblical ditches. We're going to become self-centered, self-absorbed. We're going to become lovers of themselves, as the Bible warns about. Or we're going to take love and compromise, and we're going to say sin is okay and get into all those things. So many Christians just push the whole topic away because they're concerned about ditches that people might get into or they themselves might get into. But really the second reason is really the real reason, and that is we're uncomfortable with the power of love and how it does this, that God sees us through the lens of his love, and that love brings an invitation of embrace. The problem is that's uncomfortable. Do you have references for what it means for someone to love you powerfully, even though you're a mess, even though you've got sins in your life, you've got struggles and battles, you've got significant trauma that shredded your heart, that shredded your sense of safety and how you see the world in your life. You've lived under a series of trauma that just kind of keeps spinning in your journey. And so many times we're just really uncomfortable with the sense of unconditional, for someone to love us right where we're at. Even though we all have all kinds of stuff in our lives, we can jump to the fix. I need to be fixed. I need to be fixed. I need to be fixed. And what we're often doing is bypassing love, because love at first is uncomfortable, especially if you've not experienced it effectively from another human being, because we as humans are meant to represent God's nature and his love. And the first thing that love does, even when we look at the biblical display of love and how it is presented, it brings an invitation of connection. But yet we're uncomfortable with it. What does that look like? And with trauma, it's even more compounded. So relating to yourself with loving acceptance, it stands in contrast, doesn't it, to the judgment, shame, the conditional love we experience from other people. And our trauma just stacks on top of it. And so many people, when they approach trauma, they're just going, how do I get over this? How do I fix this? They go see a trauma specialist. They get trauma therapy. They read trauma books. It's all great. It's all wonderful because it's a legit thing to learn and work through. But we're like, fix me, fix me, fix me, fix me. What we're doing is we're bypassing love. And there's something very important that happens when someone has been traumatized. And that is, there is a coping mechanism that comes into place. It's a destructive coping mechanism, but it kicks in without us even often realizing it. We actually, instead of looking at ourselves lovingly, we turn on ourselves. I've been reading through the book of Job recently, taking a slow journey through it. just letting it wash over my heart. And I've mentioned this before. I'm blown away at how after 7 days of silence as he sat with his friends and they just mourned without saying a word. But once the volume was turned on and his mouth opened, the first thing Job did was he turned on himself, turned on the day he was born, his existence on this planet. And to this day, it's the same thing that traumatized people do. You look around and you feel the loneliness of it. Then you begin to turn on yourself instead of connecting to the life that you need that God brings in his love to you and his loving embrace, his connection to you. And so I believe so much in the power of this because I've learned about it in two areas. One is in my perfectionistic struggles. I was always looking to fix myself, instead of learning what it means to be loved and take the journey through the pain and through the agony. And also learning in the experiences I've had that have shredded my own heart and the replay of them over and over and over again. The anxiety that would kick up, the anger, the mixed emotions, the confusion. And most of all, I found myself turning on myself. And what I really need is I needed to get rooted in the beauty and power of total, unconditional, loving acceptance. What this does is it tunes our senses to become a witness of compassionate grace. And that's really what I hope to raise up in the believers that I talk to and help and encourage, is that instead of becoming your worst enemy, instead of becoming a hostile terrorist to yourself, that you learn to become a compassionate witness of grace towards yourself, because it will not only open up your healing journey, it'll empower you in how you relate to other people. I want to share a few things of how this is important and then get to one practical way that you can apply it. First thing is that Tula, total unconditional loving acceptance, it reminds me that God's love is here and not based on my lovability, my performance, or my current condition. Because we often don't feel lovable, especially when you're having a traumatic recall, a flashback, a trigger. You feel separated from love. Fear takes over. Anger takes over. Disorientation, confusion, disconnection takes over, and we feel like we're drowning. Tula reminds me God is here and his love is here, even though I'm in the state that I am in emotionally. It also reminds me of God's mercy. There's a powerful passage in the scriptures that mentions mercy triumphs over judgment. But in our pain, we're quick to judge ourselves. We're quick to judge others. It becomes a default setting that opens the way for condemnation. But when you make the shift to total unconditional loving acceptance, when you make a shift into compassionate grace, you lean towards mercy, because mercy is God's compassion towards us in our suffering, in our woundedness, in our struggles, in our sin. He's merciful, and Tula reminds me he's merciful. Another thing that it does is it sets the stage for healing to actually take place. If you go around in your trauma journey, in your trauma healing journey, and you keep looking for techniques and looking for things, and what should I do? And let me do this and try this. First of all, you're going to be open to a lot of hustlers out there. Do these things, these quick things, and that just tell you can get through it quickly. It's not a quick thing. Healing is a journey. It's a process. It's layers. It's messy. And so what we keep doing, though, is we get sucked into the fix-it cycle. And here's the thesis of today's broadcast that I want to bring home. When you finally make a decision, and when I say finally, I don't mean that in like a condescending way. When you finally get to the place, I use finally to say because there's so much fussing that we do over ourselves, and we get exhausted. And we finally come to a place where we go, you know what? I need to connect to God's love, and I need to apply that love towards myself and start acting lovingly in how I relate to myself. The healing journey actually begins from there. It doesn't end there. It begins there. And people say, well, I know I've been on a healing journey in this. When you just start to connect to God's love and start applying it towards yourself, I want you to know the gears have begun to move. The healing has now begun. But we keep fussing over this, right? But Tula, it leads me to relate to myself as God does. And that's why I wrote the book, God Loves Me and I Love Myself. This was a profound change in my life and a profound change in how I help people. because for so long I was just such a staunch enemy to myself. And I would lock into that without even realizing it. But I began to realize I want to practice love towards myself the way that God is loving, how he embraces me, how he's patient with me, how he is kind. His compassion and his mercy is brand new every morning. And so I want to relate to myself the way he does. And for many people, they ask God, I need to know your love. I need to receive your love. But as that love shows up, it's like it hits a plexiglass wall and bounces back because there's an inner world of hostility that pushes it away. Our self-rejection, our unworthiness, our sense of shame, our sense of how we feel about ourselves gets ignited when we keep that hostile relationship within against ourselves. And Tula says, you know what? We're going to change into a new frequency because that embrace of God says it's okay that you're not okay. This is not based on you being good all the time anyways. We got to get back to the fundamentals of what this was based on and whose righteousness we're standing in anyways. But it reminds us that love doesn't say, oh, you're off, so now I'm going to withdraw love. That's what we see a lot in relationships, right? But God is reminding us that's not who I am. Love is not removed because of your brokenness. But here's what this powerful love is going to do. It's going to call you to relate to yourself in a renewed way. Because trauma healing is an invitation to relate to God in a renewed way. Trauma healing is an invitation for you to relate to yourself in a renewed way. To be kind to yourself. For many people that I talk to, I have to spend a lot of time going, hey, the way you're treating yourself right now, if I took the way you treat yourself inside and I put that out towards another person, you might get a restraining order. And I have to often bring an exhortation. Hey, we got to stop the self-beating. We got to stop the self-attack. Because you're just taking daggers and rusty nails and just sticking them in deeper to wounds that need healing. In this aspect, I'm gonna learn to embrace myself and my pain and my struggle rather than dismissing myself or being dismissive of myself because I haven't gotten to some destination yet. I haven't gotten to some place that I think I should be or somewhere over the rainbow. When I connect to this love, I'm going to delay my instinct that often leans to judgment because that's what we often do. We often lean in our fleshly, man-centered ways. It just happens. We go to judgment. When you default to judgment, you can't help someone if you're clicking into the judgment mode all the time. You actually can't help them. And you actually can't be an advocate, a help, a compassionate witness of grace towards yourself if you're constantly being judgmental in condemnation towards yourself. So in the atmosphere of love, you're learning to lovingly notice what you're feeling versus harshly judging. You're letting it come through. Now, some of these emotions you're going to feel can be dark, it can be intense, it can be a lot of things. It's the messy part of the healing that takes place. But under compassion, you give yourself permission to slowly work through what you're feeling and what your emotions are picking up. Because emotions are meant to work through, not just fixed and eradicated. And this is a pivotal spot in our journey that we need. And in 2 resources, I bring this out, not only in God Loves Me, I Love Myself, but in the heart healing journey, dead center in the middle, there's 3 chapters I bring about in the heart healing journey about how to relate to God's love and his loving embrace, patience, and kindness, and learning to empower yourself. Because I've seen this in my life and in the life of others, that when we allow this to open up, love makes a way for grace to help you take the next step. Love is relational, connects us. It has an embrace. Grace reminds us of our standing, what it's based on anyways, and it empowers us to take the next step. The next step of being kind to yourself, going slower through the day, letting yourself go on a journey, renewing one layer at a time as truth is revealed. Now, a simple way that I teach people how to do this, and I've done this in coaching sessions for a long time. And I ask the person, I'll do this for you, is imagine someone that you love the easiest. Okay, I ask people this all the time. Who's the person in your life that is the easiest to love? Many people will bring up their spouse. They'll bring up a parent, a friend. A parent will often bring up one of their children. And they might fuss because they have multiple kids. And I go, now it's not the time to go, I love them all. Which one's easy? You know, and they'll bring one of their children up. That's just easy. And I go, okay, take everything you're going through and put it in that person. And you're hearing it from that person. How would you respond if you are connected to the love you have for them? And then what I do is I take that warm spotlight that they've now created. We've put a pilot light to this that is now shining. We take that warm light and we're going to turn it on you now. Instead of turning this harsh, judgmental light of punishment on you in antagonistic kind of ways, we're going to put the warm embrace and light of God's love upon your heart that wants to embrace you, receive you, and bring healing to your life and your journey. And to begin applying that. Now, what I always find is when people answer, I say, what would you say to that person? And they'll say, I would tell them, you know what? I'm really sorry. I'm here with you. I said, okay, proximity. That's the embrace. I said, what else would you say? I just affirm that I'm here and I want to be helpful to them. Okay, now what I'm hearing is kindness. Yep. Now, would you lecture them, tell them to hurry up? What's the matter with you? I said, no. I said, why? Because you would connect to patience. This is what we need in our life and in our journey to practice this. And if you feel like, hey, I need to take next step into this and practice it, I encourage you to get those 2 book resources because they'll help point to that. Of course, everything I teach on is going to bring us back to the importance of love. But where has this video helped you today? Total Unconditional Loving Acceptance. Because many times we fuss over this, right? We go, well, God, yes, God, does God love us right where we're at? Yes, but we always adding buts to it, which is fine. Yes, he loves us as we are, but doesn't leave us as we are. Sure, all of that. But we don't. This is what we do. Oh, he loves us as we are, but doesn't leave us as we are. So then we just jump to the change. God, fix me, fix me, fix me. And we're already running away from love. We need to get back to the foundation because the greatest is love. There's nothing greater. And we need to anchor ourselves in it now more than ever before. Which aspect of this talk was helpful to your life and your journey? Please let me know. Click the like button and subscribe if it's been a benefit to your journey. You can also go to the trauma resource page that I've developed where you can look back and go through all the broadcasts I've been doing so far on this topic. I'm also doing a deeper dive with it in the Healing and Freedom community. I'm adding outlines to it, and there's a whole course material that's available there. If you want to support these videos, you can as well too by clicking on the donate button at markdejesus.com. I've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of free resources for your healing and freedom journey. Lord willing, the creek don't rise. This is your brother from another mother saying I'll be back with more insights for your healing freedom journey. But in the meantime, I'm out.